We're having a conversation about the Martha Karua effect, and also we'll segue into the conversation about the president's final national address, which he spent that time yesterday telling us about the legacy of his administration over the last 9 years since he first became president. But Siti, you had a question about the Karua effect
Yes.
and the Mount Kenya politics.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
The first bit had been answered very, very, very adequately by Mheshimiwa. The second part of the question was this. When you look at what we're referring to as the Martha effect, would you then say that it may have unlocked votes that previously could not be spoken of with regards to Raila Odinga in central Kenya, and that people who ordinarily would not have even thought of voicing their support, they were now set free and could not only voice their support, but also demonstrate their support?
Yes, sometimes good to compare and contrast. The running mate of Kenya Kwanza and the running mate of Azimio na Umoja. Without, as I said, besmirching or talking ill of anyone, we want to focus on the issues. And one of the outstanding evidences that there is a mother effect is that since the declaration of mother, her schedule has been full, daily. Even yesterday, I passed through a place where more than 300 professionals were gathered through the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and they were talking about that. They were expecting mother to be present, but she was, with a lot of short notices happening around. So, yes, many activities. Across the road here, there's a hotel called Ole Sereni. Last week, there was a big dinner organized by professionals, young professionals, female professionals, working together, the youth and women working together, and the house was full. There have been other caucuses formed for mother specific. I know of 7 already across the country. Of course, the ones I'm talking about are domiciled within Nairobi. There could be more, and you have seen more. Mother has been invited to go celebrate an anniversary of Maendeleo Wanawake in Garissa. That is not Central Kenya. So if you talk about, and she has gone to all the counties of Central Kenya. There are 5.
Since being
there are
named.
5 counties in the old Central Province: Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, Nyandarua, Kirinyaga. Of course, she was announced today. Tomorrow she was in Kirinyaga. We thought she could have taken a little.
She didn't take a break.
She woke up in Kirinyaga the following morning, okay, and then to Meru, to Ebu, to Tharaka. So those 5 counties, the other of East, Mount Kenya East, 3 Ebu, and the Tharaka-Nithi and Meru, those 8 counties. She has been to Laikipia. She has been to Nakuru. Mother alone. Not with the presidential candidate, mother alone. And I can tell you, because I have been with her in a number of those counties, the people lining up across the roads where she is passing on her route, I can only equate that to the people who are lining up when Kibaki was trooping, when Kennedy Matiba came back and was trooping. And even those who are not convinced, because they are there, that Raila is their choice. You see what they are saying? Wapi mother? Okay. Now, akipita, when she's passing places, like we pass through from Kiriaini, that is in Mathioya, all the way to Keno. When you are passing some parts of Mathioya and Kagema, before you came to Murang'a town, where we had a fantastic meeting at a place called Mokoyo, the main marketplace in Murang'a town. Because I was in the area, after exiting Odhaya, now we put myself and the former MP for Teto Dongo Gidenji, we use the same car from Odhaya, and we decided to be at the rear so that we can observe what was happening. So when they are speaking almost like a kilometer away, our vehicle is at the rear end. And we could hear people talking as mother was exiting every town, and where she did not stop, because she did not stop everywhere. She stopped the designated places. The calls were like, asimame, tunataka kumuona. The mother effect is real. It is not something we are just speaking about. And it's real because people are desperate. People are frustrated. she has come to revive some hope. I think I already said that. And that embodiment of that she's a woman leader. First and foremost, a leader of integrity, but then a woman leader, an experienced leader. And for my community, you allow me to say this. We were looking for someone who can also defend our community interest. Like every community, even the Constitution talks about the community interests, community of interest. And we didn't find anybody else who can stand up
And
to
represent.
an aggression against the Mount Kenya community and this diaspora rather than mother. So she stands out for community and for the country.
So a question then has crept up from many quarters then, even as you look at what many now are describing as this glorification of Martha Karua.
Yes, before you go on, he hasn't answered my question.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay, you want to ask it again?
Ask
before I
again.
My question was, Raila Odinga in central Kenya,
Yes.
are there people, I'm rephrasing it, who one could arguably say would have been supporters of Raila and would have voted for him?
Yes.
And that,
Like myself.
yes, now with the Martha entry, I was asking the question, has this now come to the fore and now they're at liberty to express the support that they've had before and which previously they couldn't openly express? That was my question.
Mother has given people the courage to speak out. Now that she is at the top, those silent individuals
Yes.
who would have voted for Raila Odinga, but were reluctant because of the multitude of the
prevailing circumstances.
the prevailing circumstances. And because the other camp was already campaigning. There wasn't somebody from the region, or Raila himself was not yet campaigning among the people of central Kenya, Mount Kenya region. The first convoy, the first caravan for Raila presidency happened within the first 24 hours of mother being picked a running mate. So it was for the first time now people are saying Raila for president campaign being led not by himself, by an individual from the community.
But Mheshimiwa,
speaking.
Raila had been to Mount Kenya
Oh,
a
he was-
number of times. He had been to Laikipia, he'd been to Nyandarua, he'd been to Nyeri, he'd been to Murang'a.
He was in those. I can say this. I already declared I'm supporting Raila, and I published my poster with Raila on December 10th, Friday, December 10th. I did not participate in any of those meetings that came thereafter because they were not publicly invited meetings. They were restricted meetings. He came to Nyeri. He had like 3 meetings. The Nyeri Golf Club somewhere in called Kafiroine. Then he came to Ruringo meetings. They were largely restricted. Mother visit was a public meeting in every place she went, where local leaders were allowed to participate, where the local community was even given a role to come either entertain or say some things and all that. So, to answer his question, is that there is a totality of Raila's support speaking out loudly now. And then, added to that, the mother effect, those who are very undecided. If you polled this country and segmented to central Kenya, you would have found a very big number, between 25 to almost 30% of voters were saying they were not certain they will vote. Undecided voters, they have swung to mother. All of them have swung to mother.
So then, is the support that we are looking at now in this glorification of Martha Karua,
Yes.
is this support for Raila Odinga because he has chosen her, or is this support for Martha Karua?
The good thing about that is that we're talking about the presidency. The presidency is the current dispensation. Call it a new dispensation, barely 10 years since 2013, first election of devolution. Is inseparable.
Sure.
Okay? So there are people who are voting Raila, and they are the majority from central Kenya because of mother. All right? Raila's support in central was very small. The KABANDOs were very few. They were isolated. We were in the jungle. all right? And we could barely speak out. So we were only conversing in quiet, sort of. But now, add the number of the minorities who are for Raila already, with or without mother, to now the Martha Karua effect. So yes, we are telling people, and I'll say this here, even on this national station, we are electing mother. That's what people in Kenya are saying. Sisi tunachagua mother. So ukiona picha, see now the elections arrangement has been changed. So kuna picha ya rais na picha ya deputy. So tunachagua mother. Na ndio uchague mother, lazima uchague Raila Odinga. So mother has complemented Raila Odinga in a very big way.
You know, I want to come back to the issue of the president.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Because all along, this campaign has been that the people of Mount Kenya are feeling unhappy with the president. So there was a protest vote sort of against the president. Even when he was calling Sagana 1, Sagana 2, Sagana 3 and talking to the people, the immediate reaction would be, it's okay, whatever you're telling us, we want to hear you, we've made up our minds. And then soon after Martha Karua was declared as a running mate, it was announced that Uhuru would not actually be going out openly to campaign for Raila Odinga in Central. Is the Uhuru factor a big factor in Central?
You know, in 2013, when Uhuru was elected, we didn't talk about the Kibaki factor. Yet we know Kibaki was a great man, gentleman, brilliant economist. We didn't talk about Kibaki factor. And in fact, Kibaki was not active in the Uhuru campaign at all.
Not at all.
In fact, he didn't participate. He did not attend a single meeting. I was a senior minister at the Kibaki government.
He did not visibly participate.
Even I am from Nyeri. The first lady then was born in Nyeri. Odaya and in Mokoroine. Odaya and Mokoroine, we even share the same water company, Ombaso. I can tell you that although I was in Kibaki's cabinet, I didn't hear anyone speak about Kibaki supporting Uhuru. Kibaki kept off. And even if he gave any support, maybe it was a support of, the tacit, quiet support that nobody can give evidence that Kibaki said this, or for Uhuru, or this other for against Raila. So he embodied a non-partisan, impartial arbiter for the transition. Okay? The same scenario is likely to happen. We don't want to talk about Uhuru. Okay? Because Uhuru has done his 10 years. And Uhuru is retiring in barely 2 months.
Yeah, but there's a difference, Mheshimiwa.
I know there's a difference.
The difference here is that Uhuru has openly declared who he'd like to see succeed him.
Yes.
Number two, Uhuru has, openly had defiance coming from the region.
Yes.
When Kibaki was going home, people in Mount Kenya were not defying Kibaki, right?
Yes.
In this particular election, and we have spoken to the other leaders from the region, people are speaking against Uhuru. There are those who are happy with Uhuru, and there are those who are expressly unhappy with Uhuru.
Yes.
So there's a difference.
There's a huge difference. The politics of Mwai Kibaki, as I said, was totally different from the politics of Jomo Kenyatta and Moi. I would like to see more of a Kibaki in Uhuru's last days in the presidency.
In what sense?
In the sense of, as we transit to the fifth, he has a vote. He has a vote. He has his own influence. He has a party called Jubilee. Jubilee is part of Azimio. That's a fact. But perhaps his involvement in the campaigns shouldn't be that loud, because those who have grievances against him may find consolation in protesting more. So he has his right, and we want Uhuru to support Raila Mother ticket. Anybody would want an outgoing president to endorse you and support you. And I think yesterday in his speech, I heard some parties said, we have real opportunity in this election to elect a deputy president, a female, a woman deputy president. I don't think you need any dictionary to look for the meaning of that statement. Yeah, he was simply saying, my sister mother here. Okay? And by the way, you do you remember when there was a Kofi Annan talks at the Serena? The team of ODM then, which comprised people like Dr. Sally Kosgei, another very professional lady. It had William Ruto, but it was led by Musalia Mudavadi, who was Raida's running mate in 2007. The team of Mwai Kibaki, that had the late Mutula Kilonzo, senior counsel, and had the Wetangula, senior counsel, and it had the senator from Kisii, Professor Sam Ongeri, was led by none other than Martha Karua. The others were even older in age. Maybe they had served more, even in parliament then. But Kibaki trusted Martha Karua. Do you know what it means to be trusted by Moi Kibaki? I am a friend. Even yesterday I lunched with one of his old friends, from Madhioya. And last week, another one called Nat Kangede. I went to see him at his home. For Kibaki to engage you, talk issues openly with you, invest in you as a friend, that means to trust you. It took some caution. But Kibaki had total trust. One, in Mother starting out for the whole of his PNU government and be the lead negotiator with Kofi Annan towards the Grand Coalition government. And again, trusted her as Minister for Justice to usher in the new Constitution, 2010. So, yes, politics of Kibaki were different. Uhuru politics are different. But being in Azimio la Umoja, I would tell you that we are talking across and we within. We know who is good to do what and who shouldn't do what. Uhuru will play his part as the exit. But Uhuru is not a Kibaki. He has his own style. Yeah, everybody.
But what I'm hearing you say, Kabando,
Yes.
is that you wish President Uhuru Kenyatta takes a backseat in the campaigns.
Well, the only
That
thing
he does not openly go out to participate in the campaign caravans and campaign meetings.
I'm sure my haters and my opponents would want me to appear like I'm criticizing Uhuru so that they can say I'm fighting to go president. But yes, I did a statement last year. It can be found in the media. If you search Google, yes, I said that it would be nice if the current president doesn't take a very active role in the campaigns for his successor. Incidentally, I did that in 2012 about Kibaki. And it was carried by one of the newspapers, daily newspapers in Kenya, my statement. KABANDO advises Kibaki not to pick his successor.
Why?
Because, so that people have opportunity. We don't have parties as strong as African National Congress of South Africa or the Chama Pinduzi of CCM of Tanzania. When you have a strong party machinery, you groom, you nurture, you groom, you promote, and you anchor leadership. So we could easily go to Tanzania after Ali Hassan Mwinyi as the second president who was endorsed by Nyerere, and you could find Mkapa in the ranks of CCM. You could easily find Jakaya Kikwete. He was actually bypassed. Okay? And when Jakaya Kikwete was leaving, I followed closely the campaigns, and he came to Taita Taveta to open that Taveta Arusha Road, and he was hosted by Uhuru, and he said, "I know who will be the next president. My party will win because CCM is very established like Mashinani in every village." Now in Kenya, PNU was a minority party. They had only 43 members of parliament. Some of us who are in PNU are from smaller parties that are affiliated after the elections. Now, when you come to the current, Jubilee has broken. It's being restructured. But I'm not running on Jubilee myself because I knew I'm going to have a difficulty. And also because I had a better choice, called Kenya, for the seat of Senate in Nyeri. And therefore, because Jubilee, the president and the deputy broke up, there is animosity, And a lot of the leaders, current leaders from Central Kenya, are within the deputy president's camp, those who are serving. That's for a fact that you know it. I say that it may not be healthy because the president will be meeting different machineries. It is not a system thing. It is not an institutional thing that will be passing on. It will be more seen like personal thing. So, but he has his own prerogative. He has said he has a vote. He has his influence. He has a party that he has restructured with the new leadership, and therefore we cannot limit his democratic choice. However, in Central Kenya, it is Martha Karua.
Let's take a break. Kabando. Hey, dog with a bone.
Yes. You're not
Go
budging.
around, come back.
Yes.
Martha Karua. Let's take a break. When you come back out of this break, let's now look at the president's legacy.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Over 6,600 are ongoing. When it comes to the economy, he says, I inherited an economy of about 3 trillion shillings. I'm living and handing over an economy of close to 13 trillion shillings. We have grown. Our country's GDP has risen. We were the 12th largest economy just 9 years ago. Today, we are the 6th largest economy in the continent. We have 13 million Kenyans connected to clean water. Although we had several false starts, we have increased the acreage of land under irrigation to 664,000. That's close to double. The number of people who have title deeds increased. The number of health facilities that are built across the country increased. The number of people registered under NHIF increased by over 400%. So very many things that he says. And he actually told us this was a strategy. And although we have achieved some, there's still some that can be achieved by the next government. When you listen to the president's speech and you heard him, just pointing out the things that have been done, could you relate with some of those things and say, yes, we've actually moved? Or were you sitting and questioning some of them?
By and large, let me give you an example of my little girl, Wambui. We are taking a drive through Gong Road when it was being done 2 years ago to Anze Kikuyu. And we engage in a conversation, the way you talk with your children. Ask them what there were 3 girls in the car, my daughters. Ask them, what do you think of the president? Give me 3 things. And the first thing, the little one, who is only 13, said he has done a lot of roads. If you want to know that people like you see how their children receive you in the village. If you are driving across the villages and you see children on the road saying, oh, Kabando, hi, and all that, that is the voice from the homestead. From my child at that age, just talking civics, because we talked about other issues also.
Yep.
It was a statement from our classmates. And this is what they are talking about in a grade 8, standard 8 now. So infrastructure, even a child in Kenya knows that roads have been done. And they have been done in all parts of the country. So that's point 1. If we are to Uhuru, that would be point 1. The other issues that he also mentioned, those are facts. They are recorded. If you go to the Central Bureau of Statistics, Kenya's Central Bureau of Statistics, you are going to get those facts about household connectivity, water projects, the dams that have been done, the roads that have been done, the technical institute. When the deputy president is campaigning, Ruto, out there, he says, tumefanya. Actually, it is called the Uhuru presidency. The rival to Uhuru, the most bitter rival to Uhuru now is the deputy president. They are falling out. They are falling out completely. And himself, when he's going across the country, he says, in this county, in this constituency, we have done this, we have done that. So, yes, there is a marking scheme. And yes, there is a report card. And that report card that Uhuru was bringing home yesterday, which I expect also he'll give to his last address to Parliament, as is expected traditionally, has high marks, and it is good to give credit where it is due. Technical institutes, roads, connectivity of electricity, construction dams, those are take home. They are easy. You can see them. And in the speech, I don't know whether there is anybody. Opponent to criticize, like I read a tweet from the leader of Ford Kenya, Senator Wetangula, saying that it was, he was trying to praise himself and all that. But it happens across the world. When the presidents are going out, they say what they have done.
You've got to give us
but you can critic. You can critic. From my position, there are areas where I think even in the first term would have done better, particularly in the political harmony, in the leadership. Like now, where I come from, the people are dispersed because we do not have a center where we could congregate, where we could talk, and the Ruto found a leakage. Okay, so he sipped water that was not meant for him. So that is on the low mark. And also the question of the youth. There are reports, and these reports are in the Ministry of Health. They have been covered by local and international media. A lot of youth are unemployed. There's joblessness. There's a lot of jobs, not just because of COVID. And if you go to shopping centers, call them marketplaces, in rural Kenya, you'll find a higher number of young people, particularly males, who are on they are mentally disturbed or they are distressed. It is because of the socio-economic situation.
Lack of opportunities.
Lack of opportunities. So those are areas where I believe Raila Odinga will improve. The Raila president. And Raila is having the courage to say, I'll do this. Yes, I am working with the outgoing president, but before I'm elected, there are areas that I'll work on.
Kabando, even as you say that, a lot of times, if you're going to correct something, it is then fundamental to look at where you went wrong. To say this is where we slipped up, then let's watch out for this, that. What would you say during these last 9.5 years, almost 10 years now, went wrong for some of the matters that you're talking about? The economy that you've mentioned, political disharmony as well. What would you say then was the slip-up point? That we can now, the new president, whomever it will be, to look up and say, look, this is where the problem was. Let's check on 1, 2, 3.
This I've said before publicly, that Uhuru gave a lot of space to his deputy. Okay? And even in parliament, there was a lot of mismanagement in parliamentary committees. I left attendance of the Agriculture Committee, Departmental Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. I did voluntarily because of things that were happening. The case of Galana Kularu, was supposed to be 1 million acres, the Kenya basket at the coast. But today, anybody talks about it? No, there was a lot of corruption.
So you left the committee because of that?
Because there are issues on that, and there are issues also on the Mumias sugar. A report of Parliament indicted the thieves of Mumias, who included even some elected officials in the Parliament and in some county governments, but they were being protected. I appeared before EACC myself, voluntarily to go and give that report because the Committee of Agriculture was being frustrated. I was in a committee called the ACP EU, African Caribbean Pacific European Union Joint Assembly. I was removed from that committee by forces within government. Yet I was being perceived as one of the people who are very supportive of the government and a close friend of Uhuru. So something wrong happened. And this is something that we should concede in humility, that would have done better in terms of political harmony, in terms of accepting strong opinions. Remember when there was what were called dark Mondays, every time they then called Coalition for Restoration of Democracy under Raila Odinga, they wanted some changes at the IEBC. I'm the one who called 46 members of parliament at Nairobi Safari Club one morning in order to get a bipartisan caucus, which eventually led to the Kiraito Murongi Orengo Committee on Electoral Reforms, the Select Committee of Electoral Reforms of 714 total. So, but again, when we started that committee, when I called those people, immediate meeting was over. They were breaking news, even on KTN and Standard Group. They broke the news. Array of hope. That committee brought radicals from ODM. It brought extremists from the Jubilee coalition. We sat together. I shared that session at the Mawingo room of Lydian Towers, Nairobi Safari Club. But leaving that meeting, I was being summoned by parliamentary leadership and the office of the deputy president. It's a fact, but we didn't stop. We went to visit Raila the same day. We met with Angular. We went to see. I talked to the president at length in the presence of my colleagues on the phone, and thereafter we met him, and of course, virtually a meeting at State House. And when we went to the meeting at State House, everyone who was in the 11th Parliament, in the National Assembly and the Senate can remember how there was unanimity at the State House that KABANDO must be a member of the Select Committee, because I was the initiator of the caucus that drove that harmony. But forces around the presidency, you can easily guess, worked against us and they defied majority voices at the State House meeting shared by the president with the deputy president present. All right? So in terms of this,
because you mentioned this and then you cleverly bring in forces being controlled by the deputy president, and then it's the president who's in charge. And
that's what I've said.
Deputy president. So where does the
That's what I've said. I'm leaving some room for you to interpret, and for the listeners and the viewers to decipher the code.
If you recall, Mheshimiwa began by saying the president gave his deputy a lot of leeway.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes.
That was to add to me.
So is this a plus on his governance or is it a minus on his
It's a
governance?
minus because this is what people say. We who love Uhuru and worked tirelessly in 2012 and 2013. Don't forget the meeting of nearly 60 MPs at Boulevard. Again, breaking news. In 2012, when I led a group to say we are starting with Uhuru for sovereignty and do not allow mandarins and the dark forces to impose Kibaki's successor.
So, Kabando, are you
So
saying
the point I'm saying,
it's necessary then to tighten the reins around said forces, around the president? Is that what you're saying?
And exactly why this progressive duo of Raila Odinga and Martha promises and promises. You know why? Because, listen here. Do you remember that Martha was a lead counsel against from High Court to Court of Appeal up to Supreme Court against BBI? Do you remember that Raila was the face of BBI with Uhuru?
Yep.
Who doesn't now know that Martha is the incoming Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs? The seat she left over 13 years ago, she is being given it by Raila, meaning Raila is giving his deputy job description so that she'll be occupying the office at
Of
annex.
implementing his BBI.
No. What I know, you know who is Martha. Martha is not manipulable. Martha was never manipulated by Daniel Moi. She stood out. The only member of parliament who stood out publicly. Okay, as a young lady, newly elected. So I want to answer this and tell you, there is an office called the Executive Office of the Deputy President. It is opposite the Executive Office of the President because the Presidency is called Harambee Annex. Harambee House, President, Harambee Annex,
Deputy.
just adjacent to Parliament. That office is inactive now for the last, I think, 3 years. That office will be occupied for the first time in 3 years by Martha Karua
Let me ask this question again, because you're saying that the fact that the president gave leeway to his deputy to have influence and to run affairs, particularly in some sectors of government, including parliamentary business, it's a wrong thing. It's a negative on his part. The other day when you were eulogizing the former president, Mwai Kibaki, the fact that Mwai Kibaki allowed his ministers leeway to do their job was praised as a positive on his part.
I think there is if I understand English properly, leeway means you are given space to do. Yes. But I've put that in the context of job description. Okay? there's a job description in the Constitution of the deputy president, and that is to assist the president. All right? But in this scenario, there is abdication of duty. The basic duty is father of the nation and the unity of the country. Uhuru was doing with good intentions. I have sat there, and I think people have said it, and he has told us, support the deputy. Don't bring me these problems. Take them to my deputy because we are one.
Yep.
Which is true.
Yeah.
So he did it with a good intention. But the other person abused that intention. Let me tell you, I have criticized Uhuru publicly. But there's something I can tell you about Uhuru. He is very trusting. Even now, he must be very careful in the next few months. In these campaigns, there are individuals that have witnessed it who are trying to misappropriate Uhuru's intentions, even for Raila Odinga. And this we will not allow them to do, because at least we are present. There are people who may even intend to misappropriate Martha Karua's goodwill, particularly in Central Kenya. We will not allow it to happen because we are present and we are conscious. So Uhuru started with intentions of empowering his deputy, even to the extent saying, after I leave office, there's a person who will leave. But mimi nimekupatia kisu, ujikatie mkate, ama ujikatie nyama, alafu ende uitumie kulisha wale watoto kule mayatima na nini. Lakini hiyo kisu unaitumia kunidunga nyuma. Namna gani ndugu? Namna gani dada?
The president in his speech yesterday said, as Kenyans, we often dwell on the what and the how without asking ourselves the why. And so I answer why my administration has invested so heavily in infrastructure. Why has my administration extensively equipped and retooled our defense and security agencies and expanded the benefits enjoyed by the staff? Why has the government driven digitization in the delivery of public service while fostering grassroots location and access to the same? Why? And he talked about even debt. He said, yes, the issue of debt has been a public conversation. But he said we needed to borrow, and borrowing is actually being clever. We are using other people's money to develop our country. He gave the example of South Korea. He said these Asian tigers, they industrialized within a very short time. It's because they were being strategic, they were focused, they were committed. South Korea borrowed heavily. At some point, it was among the most indebted countries in the world.
True.
But they got the results.
You see, I remember an article by one Jim Nambaru, my friend. He was then chairman of the Nairobi Stock Exchange in 1982, when he said, after trying to contest in two constituencies on Ford Asili, he then left, said, I will concentrate in building the stock exchange as a driver for Kenya to be in the league of Southeast Asian countries. That is those are Southeastern Asia tigers. That is South Korea, you have Malaysia, you have Singapore. You know, and that is what also informed Moi Kibaki when he formed the National Economic and Social Council, which propelled the Vision 2030 Secretariat as a driver to put Kenya as a middle income country, where livelihoods, welfare of the people, and opportunities for young people is, you know, and the decoration of heroes. It was very encompassing, socio-economic and political pillars. Now, the difference that we have with South Korea, you do know that there is a South Korean prime minister who was put to jail.
President.
Yeah.
Because of what?
Corruption.
And he's not the first one.
He's not the first one.
Those fellows like jailing their ex-presidents.
Have you seen what happened with Mahathir Mohamad? He put some people in trouble. You know, he's called Dr. Mahathir Mohamad of Malaysia. And he has a book called The Doctor in the House. I have read it maybe 20 times. And then you have the Singapore founder, Lee Kuan Yew. From that to fast forward in a generation. And his son is now the prime minister. You know, you bequeath even leadership goes to the family, not because of negative things, but people see something that you embody. You know, he refused even his family from staying in the state house.
Yes.
And he said, my children must live in the house that they are used to.
Yep.
The old, small house.
Where we grew up,
Where we grew up and all that. Read his book. facts about Singapore, or that particular one, from that to fast forward. And another one that is written as autobiography, what if there was no Lee Kuan Yew? The common thing about South Korea, Malaysia, and Singapore is episodes of punishment on corrupt individuals. One day, a minister came from overseas and was arrested at the airport. And Lee Kuan Yew said, we did that to teach other people in government that it's expensive and it's fatal. In Singapore, I've gone there twice on a visit, and I'm telling you, in Singapore, if you are caught in corruption, even if you are a member privately of clubs, sports clubs and all that, you are delisted. Even people don't want to associate with you. You know, you cannot even spit on the road in Singapore.
No, you can't.
You'll be, if you are foreigner, you'll be not fined because they don't want your money as a foreigner. You'll be made to sweep that road the whole day. Yes. So in this scenario of Kenya, I am in total agreement with the President Uhuru that we need to embody that movement, and the foundations are there for Kenya to be like South Korea of Samsung, or Singapore of the island state that is decorated with integrity. What we need to do now, and this question is escaping, and I think it is part of the headlines today, is to have a firmer blow, a sharper sword on impunity and corruption. This government has been blotted by corrupt individuals. And in fact, if I become Senator for Nyeri, and I am very confident I'm going to win on a Kenya ticket, one of the registrations I'll put is to suggest that individuals who are appointed as cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries shouldn't contest any elective office 5 years after they leave, because they are misusing their positions in the ministries to accumulate illicit wealth, that is stealing, so that they can go contest as governors, as senators, and members of parliament.
To protect that wealth.
And again, if you give yourself even a name of the project you have done in a village, why are you appointed as a principal secretary or as a cabinet secretary to grow your village or your county? So that as a minister, remember, if you read the Kenyatta cabinet by the Kenya Yearbook, the state corporation called the Kenya Yearbook, you'll see Dr. Taita Toet, you see Otiende from Busia, you see Tomboya from Rusinga, now representing Kamukonji, Matano, selfless individuals, Akina James Gishuru, who worked tirelessly for the nation. If I go to secondary schools in Mukurweini, I've seen two. One with the signature of Dr. Taita Toet, because he came to Mukurweini as a minister those very early days. There's a village that had refused, called Dangadi in Mukurweini. Officials had refused us to open the newly constructed hospital through CDF and the economic stimuli package until our DC then, Isaac Masinde, delivered Joseph Otiende. Because the first visitor's book in the Ngadi dispensary, hospital, Joseph Otiende had come there very early, but of course, because of his current age, we could not get him. You see, a minister embodies the nation.
So it's about corruption.
It's about corruption. And if now, and I'm very happy, you're telling me I'm going back to Mother? Mother has zero tolerance on corruption. and now Raila has trusted her to be the minister, cabinet secretary, in charge of the docket of governance and ethics. You see, last week when I saw John Gedongo at Serena with the Mother, I said, there's something happened. The civil society, the people in government, the communities, the women, the young girls are being inspired by a possibility of Martha Karua, Deputy President, and Raila Odinga. The crooked ones, the corrupt ones, the looters and thieves, you have reason to be very fearful. On my poster that has Mother and Raila, from my name, below my name, warrior against graft. Because I prioritize. Because even in Nyeri or Baringo, what has fallen devolution in this country is because people are being elected as governors and as senators to receive kickbacks or misappropriate public contracts to their kin so that they enrich themselves as the rest of the country is suffering. With the mother
Kabando.
as a deputy president, my friends,
Things are going to be different.
they are not only going to be different, radically shifting.
Kabando, thank you very much. Well, once you become a senator, we'll hold you to account if you become senator.
Do so, please.
We'll hold you to account for all these words.